Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Today I'm going to be telling you all about Forgotten Depths and the 4 brand new expansions coming to Kickstarter. Forgotten Depths is designed by Pete Albertson and the artwork is done by Marianne Churchland. Forgotten Depths is a cooperative 1 to 3 player dungeon crawler where the unique element is that you're going to be creating the dungeon that you crawl through. Forgotten Depths, you alternate between exploring and creating the dungeon by tiling the cards that come out and then interacting with features, fighting monsters, and getting the opportunity to observe and experience legendary locations. Legendary locations are created by tactfully placing down tiles to connect different nodes in various different configurations depending on the ecology that you are journeying through. Forgotten Depths has tile placement, hand management, a modular board, gear, powers, and abilities, and asymmetric players. There's Syl, there's Ava, and there's Bren, and they each kind of have a different feel. One is rogue, one is a wizard, and one is a fighter. The goal of Forgotten Depths is to get through 3 ecology levels and encounter the final entity. The final entity is variable. It has a head, it has a body, and it has a tail that can be mixed and matched. And in between the other 2 ecology levels, there's going to be a Stair Guardian that you have to get past to advance to the next level. The Stair Guardian is going to be the most powerful entity you encounter on that ecology and is going to really put your hand management and card laying and powers and abilities to the test. Everything that you've gained throughout that ecology and experienced and leveled up. The main reward you get from fighting monsters, encountering the features, and visiting the legendary locations is going to be experience points. Experience points can be spent both between the ecology levels and within your exploration phase on health, on keys to unlock more doors, and then in between the ecologies on your gear to level up. There's going to be one opportunity to rest during each ecology, and that's at a campfire, and you're going to be able to get half your health back, but all the monsters come back onto the board ready to take you down. The Kickstarter is going to have a reprint of the base game and 4 brand new expansions. The reprint is going to be a smaller box size with a revised rulebook, 2 of the main criticisms of the original campaign. The 4 brand new expansions are going to have new content to explore, and there's going to be alternate heroes, and all the items and abilities are going to be available from the first Kickstarter. Now for the main part of the video, I'm going to talk about the 4 different expansions and what each one contains. 2 of them are slightly larger and contain gameplay components, and 2 of them are more narrative focused. I'm going to start with the narrative focused ones and then move on to the gameplay ones. So the first one I want to talk about is going to be Camp Dialogue. Camp Dialogue is going to consist of these cards where as your party rests at a campfire, you're going to have the opportunity to learn more about your characters. They're going to essentially be talking to each other. There's going to be a deck for each pairing of the characters and for all 3 characters if you're playing with all 3 of them. And what's a Quackalope video without flavor text? Ava sits on the ground with her implements laid before her, blades on wax canvas, oils and whetstone out for their care. Bren sits beside her gazing at the flames, a small cookpot in her hands. Did Vester say anything to you this time, she asks. Ava purses her lips. She replies without looking up. No, you're worried it'll happen again. I am. It'd be better if my mind was clear, but it's not easily forgotten. Ava pauses what she's doing and turns to look at Bren, reaching out to put a hand on her shoulder. Well, he didn't share anything. Besides, Vester himself would be the first to say his seeings aren't always right. Bren, explain what you fear and draw card 2C, or drop your concern and draw 2D. Each Camp Dialogue is going to go down a branching narrative path that varies, and it's going to give you the opportunity to understand your character better. It is all flavor text and narrative. There are no game mechanic changes. The second narrative focused expansion is going to be Esoteric Histories. Esoteric Histories is going to provide cards that you will have the opportunity to encounter when you interact with features or at different legendary locations. They are going to also provide a lot of flavor text and background and history to the world that you are exploring, these ecologies, how they came to be, the elders. Another example of the flavor text, Day 7, second cycle of the 3rd season. I choose not to believe it. Why trust these malicious whispers, portending foul circumstance? Is my power not great enough to command that darkness? How dare they suggest my failure? But the curving of their logic, they make interesting suggestions, and I find I am intrigued. What loss of silver of my strength, a mere fragment in exchange for what they offer? The last 2 expansions are going to have a lot more gameplay mechanic changes. There's going to be the Vault of Yarick and the Ever Chamber. going to talk about the Vault of Yarick first, and then I'm going to talk about the Everchamber, mainly because the Everchamber always draws my eyes with the vibrant colors, and I'm going to save probably my favorite part of this expansion for last. So the Vault of Yarick. Yarick is this monster who was imprisoned with his followers, and what makes his vault unique is that each time you encounter one of his followers, you're not going to fight them right then as you typically do with monsters in the other ecologies. Instead, they are going to run away and join Yarick at the end. And depending on how many of them you've encountered each time you enter his vault is going to be how difficult it is to face him at the end. But the rewards are really great. If you do succeed in taking him and his followers down, you'll have the opportunity to get the Chain of Valkath. The Chain of Valkath will allow you to add a 7 or 8 and take out 2 of your weaker action cards, and then give you a couple powers that you can trigger. To enter into his vault, you're going to have to connect nodes with your tile placement in the ecology you are currently journeying through. Then, once you're in his vault, there's going to be different pathways to go down of how to advance and progress. You might have to build a pathway with your tile placement that creates a triangle, or you might have to be able to build a square, as I've demonstrated. This expansion will have diagonal pathways, which is something unique. The diagonal pathways don't cause you to lose the game if they trail off into nowhere and don't connect. Additionally, if you cannot place a tile in the Vault of Yarick, you don't lose the game immediately like you do in the base game. So there's slight changes here with the diagonal configuration and trying to make them line up. I just want to preface that everything you're seeing before you is a prototype, and so some of the colors and some of the ways that the tiles are lining up aren't finalized. The last expansion is going to be the Everchamber. The Everchamber is different from the Vault of Yarick in the sense that the Vault of Yarick you build adjacent to the ecology you're currently exploring. The Everchamber, you are going to destroy the ecology that you're currently exploring and build the Everchamber. And when you leave the Everchamber gets destroyed. Every time you enter, you are going to rebuild it. Similar to the Vault of Yarick, you enter by creating these node connections and you go through the entry portal. Then within the Everchamber, you are also going to have to build these shapes with the pathways. And so you might have to encounter a feature here, the features aren't going to just be on the tiles. You'll have to make a triangle. To exit back to the ecology that you are currently playing or to a different ecology, you'll have to build a square. And then the Everchamber brings an alternative way to win the game. In the Everchamber, there are these specialized monsters called chimerics. These chimerics are these bird-like creatures with knobby limbs and patches of coarse fur. They're actually going to chase you within the Everchamber, and once you enter the Everchamber, they are going to be released into the other 3 ecologies. If you go out into the other 3 ecologies and collect their essences and bring them back to the Everchamber and build that engine, you can disrupt the Ever engine and escape and win the game that way, instead of having to encounter the final entity at the end of the game. If you somehow do not want to disrupt the Ever engine and instead want to continue journeying through the ecologies and encounter the final entity, there's going to be the opportunity to collect the chimeric essences and build very powerful weapons in the forge inside the Everchamber. These powerful weapons are going to be the beam helm, which gives you +1 armor, the Weave Lock Shield, which also gives you +1 armor. They both also give you some abilities, and then a Mace of Disruption. If you choose to spread these weapons out among your 3 characters, they will be one version of a new hero, and if you choose to equip them all with one character that you're playing as, that character will turn into the Scion of the Forge with a health of 45, I-Beam, Force Strike, and Resolute +2 power. It essentially replaces the character that you're playing as. And those are the 4 brand new expansions for Forgotten Depths. The 2 narrative focused ones, Camp Dialogue and Esoteric Histories, and the 2 gameplay mechanic focused ones, the Vault of Yarick and the Everchamber. I've really enjoyed diving into the Everchamber and encountering the chimerics who chase you around while you're trying to collect their essences to forge into weapons or to destroy the engine. And the Vault of Yarick, that fight is a brutal one, but the reward, the Chain of Valkath, is great. So until next time, whatever the case, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Get out and play some games. We'll see you next time.